Okay, good afternoon, dear General Advisor, dear Chairperson, and everybody. Welcome to the BPI Futures Recitation class. So today we are going to continue to learn the topic about Mr. Cao Shumei and Mr. Lin in Nirvana in file. Okay, following yesterday's content, today we are going to learn some new content. Yeah. First of all, let's review the content of yesterday. The kind mental, if it is not good, there are not so many people who love and appreciate it. Whether they would comprehend it, whether they could comprehend it well or not, they will prefer to accept it. That proves the writer has the wisdom and talents. Yes, so following this content and kind mentor continue to speak that it is true that there has not existed wine in China for decades, for almost a century, except for Mr. Yongjing. Yeah, and for Mr. Yongjing, we know it's a very famous writer in China or around the world. Yeah, it's very famous. His fame in China is very. It's almost like everybody knows him. If you like to read the novel. Okay, she's comparable to Yongjing. She's comparable to Yongjing. Once her dead, she would be the only one in the world. Yeah, once Yongjing dead, she would be the only one in the world. Okay, so in this paragraph, I have listed 4 new vocabularies on the screen, and then you can see that the red part, the red one, are the new vocabulary. So we will check it one by one. Yeah, first one is comparable. Comparable. Adjective.
Comparable. 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 Comparable.
Comparable, it means
comparable.
Similar to somebody, something else, and able to compelled. Similar to somebody, something else, and able to be compelled. Comparable.
Comparable. Comparable. Comparable.
Okay, and the next one.
World. World.
World.
World.
World. World.
World.
It means the earth with all its countries, peoples, and nature features. World, the world. We were all living in the same world. Okay.
World.
Okay, so next one. Let me check if there is a record. So no. Okay, so I will paste it into the dictionary. Century.
Century.
Century, it is a noun and it means a period of 100 years.
Century. Century. Century.
Century.
Century.
Century, it means a period of 100 years. It means a period of 100 years. Okay, the next one, the last one. Decade.
decade, decade, decade,
Decade. It also means
decade,
a period of time, but the period of time for decades is only 10 years. But for century, the period of time is 100 years. So actually a century is 10 times than a decade. Yeah, a decade, it means only 10 years, but a century means 100 years. Okay, so we have learned two kinds of noun about years, So, okay, let's check it one by one and then please practice it, okay?
decade, 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 century, century, century.
Okay, comparable.
Comparable, comparable, comparable.
World. World.
Okay, now it's time for
World.
you to practice these new vocabularies. Yes, right. Lydia, please be your mic to read these new vocabularies.
Good afternoon, teacher.
Yeah, good afternoon, Lydia.
Decade, decade, century, century, comparable, 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 world, world, world,
Yeah.
world,
World.
world, world.
Yes, yeah, amazing.
Decade,
I think here is decades. Decades.
decades, decades,
Decades.
decades, decades.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lydia. Okay, so who would like to practice the new vocabularies? Please type 8 on the screen. Oh, virtue, please.
Good afternoon, teacher and everybody.
Hi, good afternoon, virtue.
Decade, decade, century, century, comparable, comparable, world, world.
Yes, so beautiful, excellent, fantastic. Thank you so much, virtue. Thank you for your leading. Yeah, next one, Lotus, please.
Hi, good afternoon,
Hi.
Daisy.
Good afternoon, Lotus.
Yeah. Decade, decade, century, century, comparable, comparable, world, world. 请老师指正. Thank you.
Yeah, you're amazing. You're amazing. Perfect, just perfect pronunciation. Thank you so much. And I think you forgot to speak English just now. Okay. you spoke
Yeah,
some
I'm
Chinese.
sorry. sorry.
No worries. Thank you so much. Okay, so thank you for 3 of you to lead us to review these new vocabularies. So now let's go ahead to listen this paragraph in the Google translation, okay?
It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades, or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yang Jin. She is comparable to Yang Jin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades, or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yang Jin. She is comparable to Yang Jin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades, or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yang Jin. She is comparable to Yang Jin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades, or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yang Jin. She is comparable to Yang Jin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades, or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yang Jin. She is comparable to Yang Jin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world.
Okay. It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yang Jin. She is comparable to Yang Jin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. Yeah, this one should be pronounced died. Die.
Die.
Died.
Okay, once again, it is true that there has not existed one in China for decades or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yang Jin. She is comparable to Yang Jin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. Okay, so now it's time for you to practice and recite this paragraph. Okay, let us please lead us to read it first.
Okay. It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yang Jin. She is comparable to Yang Jin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You're amazing. Thank you so much for your leading. Next one, virtue. Please read and recite it.
It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yang Jin. She is comparable to Yang Jin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yang Jin. She is comparable to Yang Jin. Once he died, she will be the only one in the world. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for wonderful reading and recitation. Thank you. Okay, next one, Lydia, please read it for us.
Thank you, teacher. It is true that there has now existed one in China for decades, or for almost a century. Except for Mr. Yang Jin. She is comparable to Yang Jin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world.
Yes, you're amazing. Thank you. But please pay attention. Please pay attention to this. The pronunciation of this vocabulary. It is true.
True.
Yeah, true.
It is true.
Yes, it is true that there has not existed one in China. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, teacher.
Yeah, thank you so much. Next one, vigorous, please recite it.
Yeah, good afternoon, teacher and everybody.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades or for almost a century, except for Miss Yongjin. She is comparable to Yongjin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. Thank you.
Yeah,
so much.
you're amazing. Thank you. Thank you, vigorous. Perfect, just perfect. Okay, let us please read and recite it, please.
Yes. It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yongjin. She is comparable to Yongjin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much. So I will follow you to read and recite this paragraph. First, I will read it. It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yongjin. She's comparable to Yongjin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. Okay, let me try to recite it. It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yongjin. She's comparable to Yongjin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. I think so. So next one, Lydia, please read it again. Today's content.
Thank you, teacher. It is true that there has now existed one in China for decades or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yongjin. She is comparable to Yongjin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world.
Yes, you're amazing. Yeah, I think you have made such a big progress, Lydia. Thank you so much and congratulations for your big progress. Thank you. Okay, let us please recite it again for today's content or which content, which paragraph?
Today's content again.
Yes, yeah, please.
It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yongjin. She is comparable to Yongjin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. Thank you.
Yeah, you're amazing. You're amazing. So, okay, I would like to follow you to recite today's content again. Okay. It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades, except for, all for almost a century, except for Mr. Yongjin. She's comparable to Yongjin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. Yeah, thank you. So is there anyone would like to read and recite more? Okay, let us please, which paragraph would you like to read and recite?
Yesterday's okay?
Yes, sure, please.
Thank you. The kind mentor, if it is not good, there are not so many people who love and appreciate it. Whether they could comprehend it well or not, they would prefer to accept it. That proves the writer has the wisdom and talents. Okay, try to decide.
Yes.
The kind mentor, if it is not good, There are not so many people who love and appreciate it. Whether they could comprehend it well or not, they would prefer to accept it. That proves the writer has the wisdom and talents. Thank you.
Yes, yes, you're amazing, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, okay, so I would like to follow you to read. Oh, sorry, I have a phone call, so I have to pick up the phone. So yeah, please, is there anyone who would like to read? So please be on mic. Hello, I'm back. Hi, hello, Andrew, hello. Yes, sorry. I just received a phone call from the driver, so I have to answer him. So sorry. So now Tianzi, yeah, Andrew, please read it.
No, Daisy.
Hi, good afternoon, Andrew.
Okay. It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades, almost a century, except for Mr. Yongjing. She's comparable to Yongjing. Once he died, he would be the only one in the world.
Yeah. Thank you. So please pay attention to this vocabulary. It should be pronounced comparable. Comparable. Yeah, comparable.
She's comparable
to Yongjing. Yes, exactly. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. You're amazing. Thank you. Okay, sorry. So who would like to read and recite more? We have about 7 minutes. Yeah, for this class. Okay, yeah, Lydia, please read it again.
It is true that there has now existed one in China for decades or for almost a century. Example for Mr. Yongjing. She is comparable to Yongjing. When he died, she would be the only one in the world.
Yes, you're amazing, Lydia. Thank you. Okay, Lotus, please read and recite.
Okay, the day before yesterday, I will read and recite.
Yeah,
while to
you're
Jiang
amazing.
Xia, thank you. While to Jiang Xia, he delivers an eloquent argument before the emperor, but he had been overwhelmed by Mei because the emperor has not chosen to believe him. The writer is incredible. While to Jiang Xia, he delivers an eloquent argument before the emperor, but he has been overwhelmed to Mei because the emperor has not chosen to believe him. The writer is incredible. Thank you.
Yes, you're amazing. Yeah, please pay attention to this preposition. It should be has been overwhelmed by Mei, not to Mei.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, thank you for your humble, for your acceptance. Okay. Okay, so I will read it. I will read the content from page 52 to 54. Yeah. While Tu Jiangxia had delivers an eloquent argument before the emperor, but he has been overwhelmed by Mei because the emperor has not chosen to believe him. The writer is incredible. The kind mentor, if it is not good, there are not so many people who love and appreciate it. Whether they would comprehend it well or not, they would prefer to accept it. That proves the writer has the wisdom and talents. It is true that there has not existed one in China for decades, or for almost a century, except for Mr. Yang Jin. She's comparable to Yang Jin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. Yeah, thank you. So, okay, Manju, please. Manju, read today's content, right?
Yes, thank you, teacher.
Hello, Manju. Your sound has echo. Has echo. I cannot hear you clearly. Okay, so Lydia, please read the content. 50, yeah, please.
Yes, thank you, teacher. That why is this drama so realistic? All it novel. Our is novel. What a masterpiece in my mind. It's Buddhist suture. Because from the beginning to the end, I can find any fault in it.
Yeah, for this one, it should be, I think it should be, I can't find any fault in it. Can't. Can't. Sorry, can't. Can't is the British pronunciation.
Can't.
And then a can't is the American, is the which one would you like to take it? Can't or can't? Because can't is the American accent, but can't is the British accent. So you can take what you like. Both are okay. But for me, I prefer to pronounce the American way. Can't. I can't.
Can't.
Yes.
Can't.
I can't find any fault in it.
I can't find any fault in it.
Yes, right.
Yes, thank you, teacher.
Thank you, Lydia. So, Lotus, which paragraph would you like to recite?
Oh, Daisy, I think it's time. Manju, please first. I think
okay.
I'm afraid. Yeah, I think there is little time left.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for your considerable thinking. Yeah. Thank you so much, and thank you for granting this chance to Manju. Okay, Manju. So please read it.
Thank you, teacher.
Yeah, Manju, please. I can hear you clearly. Please read it.
Wow. It is true that they has not existed were in China for decades of almost a century, except for Mr. Yongjin. She is comparable to Yongjin. Once he died, she would be the only one in the world. Thank you.
Yeah, in the world. Okay, thank you, Andrew. So, okay, so I think the time is overrun and the time is up. So thank you for being with me this afternoon. And I'm so glad to study with all of you. And then see you next week. So bye-bye.